Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. We're joined by Project Officer Amir Girnary and Administrator Lucie Babbington from Southend Borough Council's Work Skills team. They will be discussing how they carried out an online co-production survey during the COVID-19 pandemic. Over to you.
Hello there. So hello everybody, and welcome to our session. So yeah, we're going to talk about our sort of co-production exercise and kind of how we went through the sort of the planning and the management of this exercise in terms of planning it, and then also the delivery period during the COVID-19 period. Okay. So if I just to start off then, so in terms of our kind of reasons for the co-production itself, we had a deep dive of the work skills project in 2019. So this was a kind of a detailed analysis of the project to look at things that have gone well and things that have not gone so well, and to kind of have a refresh and a review of the project. And sort of part of that was a need to sort of redesign some of the aspects of the project delivery to make sure that it stayed fresh and make sure that it was kind of as effective and as efficient as possible for the parents who were attending, and to sort of encourage new parents to come, and to make it as continue to make it as popular as it could be. And so the co-production was sort of part of that, really. We are sort of on the programme, we are sort of like committed to working with stakeholders. So we've got lots of different stakeholders that we work with who very kind of graciously given up their time to sort of help us on the programme and to help the parents. And we really wanted the programme to be as effective as possible, as sharp as possible, and as efficient as possible at delivering the outcomes of the programme and delivering the sort of best outcomes to parents, and helping, really helping to sort of propel them into employment, into education, and into volunteering, which are the kind of key goals and aspirations of the programme and of the work skills programme. Can we just go back one slide, please? Thank you. So how we planned the co-production. So there's various stages we went through in the sort of the planning process. So we sort of started off with a meeting with the Better Start project management that Jessica Russell was sort of heavily involved in as well, to kind of think about the sort of the big picture of what we were doing and what we wanted to achieve. And we had a series of meetings in the planning. So some of them, it was just the work skills team. Some of them involved our kind of management in the council and also the management in a Better Start as well, to sort of plan what we were doing and the best way forward for the co-production exercises. And so what we sort of decided on was to have 3 different events held in different ABSS geographical areas within different wards, and we were going to have sort of stakeholders involved in those as well. So that was going to include obviously our parents, it was going to involve the Southend Adult Community College, who we work very closely with, and SAVs, who we work closely with as well. And those activities were going to be on different days and different times. And also, as part of the planning, we spoke to Esme as well, who's our lead parent champion, and she kind of advised us from the kind of the parent point of view, and having a kind of a little bit of coordinated view from the parents. And so one of the things we decided is that we were going to have the creche operating within the group and within the room, rather than having it in a separate room that we normally have for our events. And that was partly to encourage more parents as possible to attend, and partly to kind of give it a little bit of a kind of relaxed, sort of informal feel to the process as well. So they were kind of some sort of key aspects of the planning. So going on to what the co-production sort of looked like. So we had sort of 3 events. There were 3 events that were planned for different times across March and April 2020, and so this was our planning was going on before COVID-19 period, and we were going to do it at 3 different locations, as I mentioned, with different locations, different times, and we were also going to have a twilight event as well, just to see if that would fit in with parents. And we'd kind of we'd done some consultation with Jessica beforehand, and the twilight session was mentioned as being one that would possibly be popular with parents to sort of attend. We're going to invite parents to it, invite organisations to it to sort of take part in discussing our activities, and we wanted to consult on various factors. So we sort of thought really carefully about the factors that we wanted to consult on, but things like the timings of future events. So what was the best time for parents to attend? What the topics should be that we should deliver in the future. Because they can change quite quickly, and depending on the parents who take part, those topics, parental views change quite quickly about what we should do and what's most beneficial. Our ideas for advertising and what parents thought about the different ways we advertised and how that's changed over time, and that of course has changed over time. The locations that we deliver in, and quite a few other factors which we had kind of thought carefully about what we wanted to find out from parents sort of in advance. And we also we were going to look at the previous events. We did look at the previous events and talk about what worked well and then what needed to improve. So we had to kind of have a way of carefully explaining those to parents in an easily accessible way, particularly if they hadn't attended the sessions before. And we also wanted to talk about the Southend Borough Council growth and strategic areas which are important for our area, sort of Southend, and important for the council, and important for us as economic growth, because we know that they are the kind of critical areas for Southend and the Southend economy. And then we also considered Southend 2050, so our kind of key goals and ambitions in Southend, and then also our ambition Southend sort of skill strategy, and just making sure that we had kind of considered that sort of carefully in terms of how that fitted into the programme as well. So they were the main factors we'd considered in terms of planning the co-production exercise and the way we were kind of thinking about it before the COVID-19 situation sort of broke. So I think we're going to go over to Lucie now to carry on with the slides.
Thank you, Amir. Right, so obviously the impact of COVID-19 on the co-production, obviously it's had a huge impact everywhere. Our first in-person co-production event was due to be held just as lockdown started. So as we realised our March and April events at least were going to be beginning to start being cancelled, we realised that we needed to start adapting very quickly to that. So we came up with the idea of doing a survey in place of an in-person event. We felt it was a quick way to get the information to parents and hopefully get responses back from them in a way that would be the most beneficial, sort of in replacement of actually being able to be in person. So we designed the questions of the survey based on the activity that we were going to run at the events. So we were going to provide parents and organisations, they were going to have a brief beforehand about events that we'd done, some ideas about what we could do in future, and then using those things sort of create discussion around what would be the most beneficial for people, generate some new ideas, and get some good feedback from the people that are actually using our events, the people that need the events, and what's most beneficial for them. So we got some advice from Jessica about the best way to present it, and we came up with the idea of using an infographic at the beginning of the survey to kind of give a brief about what this co-production survey was all about, and what to expect from it. So this is the idea that we came up with, and we wanted to make everyone that was going to be taking part in the survey, we just wanted to make it really clear about why we're doing it, and what we're going to use the data for. If they're sort of spending their time talking to us and giving their information about what they'd like, then it's really important that we let them know why we're asking for that, just to make it clear. So the benefits of co-production for us, so this has been a really interesting process. We received 48 responses in the end from our survey. So that was 12 responses from businesses and 36 from parents. We are actively using the data from the survey to inform our plan for October onwards. So we're sort of actively using the results from this. The co-production, the whole process of it has allowed us to work really closely with, obviously with A Better Start, with Jessica, with our lead parent champion, Esme, as Amir mentioned, as well as parents that have been to our events before, but those that haven't as well, to try and sort of reach out as wide as possible within the community to people that might not have been as familiar with the project before. And as well as to businesses, again, the businesses we've worked with and the ones that we've not worked with yet, and sort of trying to get our name out there for those that may want to work with us in future. And so we just want to make sure, as Amir said, that we're redesigning the Work Skills project in order to make it the most efficient and effective it can be for our stakeholders. And those stakeholders do include parents and the businesses, as well as obviously A Better Start and Southend Borough Council. And to benefit from a team working approach, sort of the values and behaviours at Southend Borough Council include being collaborative. You know, we're very much about being inclusive, and working with others. So that's been great. And that just about covers everything we've wanted to say. These are our contact details. So Amir is the project officer on Work Skills. I'm the project administrator, and our newest member of staff, Lizzie, is our Work Skills admin trainee. Our phone number is 01702 534 077. Our email addresses are on there, but you can also email workskills@southend.gov.uk. And all of the information about the project is on the A Better Start Southend website as well.
Great, thank you for that, Lucie and Amir. So I just had a few questions. So why did you undertake the co-production exercise in the first place?
That's a good question. Thank you, Keely. I mean, I think what we wanted to do is we wanted to sort of redesign the programme, obviously with guidance from A Better Start, to make it as effective as possible to help parents to move back to work, education and volunteering. And you know, parental views kind of change quite often, and different parents drop off out of the programme and new parents come along into the programme. So it's a case of, you know, trying to make sure that we're keeping it fresh and keeping it as effective as we can do. I think also we wanted to get the sort of input from the stakeholders. So it's kind of lots of different stakeholders that we're kind of working with. So we've got our kind of service users, the parents. We've also got all the sort of different local organisations as well. So we've got kind of, you know, Family Action, who running the children's centres and the you know, involved in the children's centres in the creche, and the adult community college and SAVs. So it was kind of our opportunity to kind of get some really good feedback from them in a kind of more sort of like formal, structured sort of way. And then I think also, I mean, we did, just to say that we had done a co-production session in 2016 when we started, before we started doing this, and this was a kind of a more formal session, and this helped us to shape the project and gave us some really good sort of parental intelligence in terms of moving forward to plan the project. And so since then, we've been, on a daily basis, we've sort of been gathering informal feedback from parents. So when, you know, we go out to the children's centres, when Lucie goes out, you know, when I go out, we've been collecting feedback, informal feedback, and then also formal feedback from questionnaires from parents as well when they finish the session and when we do our evaluation. But this was really an opportunity to get that kind of formal feedback from them at a kind of a critical review point in the project, in order to kind of help us to sort of reshape the next phase of work skills, kind of moving forward.
That's great. So how did you adapt the co-production exercise in order to go online and make it accessible?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. And so if I kind of, I suppose, sort of run over kind of what we, you know, the summary of sort of what we did, and then the way that we kind of moved over, sort of adapting the delivery. So just to kind of unpick the sort of detail a bit more, in case this is useful for other teams. So we, the activities that we had planned in the in-person co-production events, we were going to have a set of different tables in the room. So we had a sort of large room. The plan was to have a large room with parents and children present, and we were going to have 4 tables. Each table was going to have 2 facilitators on each table. And the facilitators were going to be carefully matched to the topic area, and they were going to be given a 2-page briefing document which they were going to read a couple of days before the event. So that was to kind of brief them on everything that we had done and what our kind of very draft future plans were, so that they were able to kind of explain those to the parents. So quite a lot of detail was going to sort of go into that. And then during the session, the parents were going to rotate round the tables, but the sort of the experts on the tables would remain on the tables to speak to different groups of parents as they rotated round the room during the session. And each table was going to concentrate on one work package of work within work skills. So one work skills project sort of delivery package on each table. So learning from mum and dad on one table, 60-minute mentor on another table, for example. And you know, the sort of activities were things looking at what the parents wanted to do, what the businesses liked about the previous events, and then, you know, asking about things like the subject matter, the time of the events, the location of the events, and importantly, what they felt could be done differently and what they felt could be done better and better for them. And then also one of the reasons that we had these sort of two pages of information was that the attendees would also get details about the project and previous events for those that hadn't attended before. So we were making a kind of conscious effort to get parents who hadn't attended, who could be new attendees for us, as well as parents that had kind of come in the past. So that was kind of, I suppose that was where we were up to with our sort of detailed planning of it before the COVID-19 situation kind of kicked in. So from a kind of an adaptation point of view, so we essentially, the questions were all adapted into the survey questions to ask parents those in the survey. And then the way we kind of got around the detailed written information, which was a really useful exercise, was to have an infographic that appeared on the front of the questionnaire to explain the sort of the process of what we were doing in the questionnaire and what we were kind of planning. So we kind of carefully thought about that, but we wanted to have only one document for the people who filled it in to look at. So rather than having to refer to different documents and having to do extra reading, we consulted with a few people and realised that actually we needed to make it really simple. So we had this kind of infographic at the beginning, which summarised the what we were planning to ask them and what we were thinking about doing in our delivery that we wanted to consult the parents with. And then there was the questionnaire that followed, it was very much so the kind of the content that we gave the parents was very much summarized into a kind of shorter, easier to read, snappier sort of online version. that was one of the ways that the main way, I suppose, that we sort of adapted it.
Mm-hmm. So how did it feel to run a co-production exercise during a global pandemic?
It's been a very surreal experience. It's been a strange time for all of us. We were really disappointed because we love running the events in person. We love meeting the parents. We like that element. It's one of the best parts of the work that we do, is getting to meet everyone and engage with them like that. So that was really disappointing. But we've had a lot of support from everyone, from people at A Better Start, our managers at the council, and Jessica. So that's been great, and it was just really nice to be able to do something. So even though we had to cancel the events, our first thought was, right, if we can't do that, what can we do? And immediately start sort of thinking about that, and sort of focusing our attention on what we can do, not what we're sort of not able to do anymore. And we were also at the same time we were putting plans into place to make our Intro to Enterprise business course online as well, because that was also due to happen in April. So it was a kind of all hands on deck kind of moment at the start of this. So it was and it was great. So I think with so many people working from home or being based at home, it probably helped us to get the good amount of responses that we did from the survey. We weren't sure what to expect. Obviously everyone's going through a difficult time. Do people want to be thinking about what they want from October and things like that? But it had a really positive response, so that was great.
And what was helpful as part of this process?
Thank you. I mean, I think a few things really. I mean, I think we had really good support from our kind of sort of managers within the council, but also from A Better Start, from the point of view of kind of giving us advice, and from Jessica, from yourself, Keely, and from Wendy as well, in terms of kind of giving us advice as to sort of how we proceed, and also kind of setting us the parameters of what was kind of the big picture of what was sort of expected as part of the exercise. So that's been really helpful. We've also had support from IT, so we had from within the council, so we were sort of allowed access to the document that we use, Google Docs, in order to kind of be able to get the kind of survey out in a very kind of visually appealing sort of format. So that kind of helped us, and that was kind of quite swift, because obviously we had to act quite quickly at a difficult time. And then also the collaboration as well, so kind of to try to get people to sort of take part and to do the survey. There's no way we could have done it ourselves if we had just sent that out just to the people who are on our list. Although there's quite a few there, that wouldn't have worked. And so it was kind of getting the support of the other A Better Start programs and other services to help us to sort of promote the questionnaire and to kind of send it out. That kind of really helped us, and sort of really helped us to kind of boost the numbers. So the numbers were kind of boosted up to 48 people who kind of completed it, which was sort of right at the top end of what we hoped to get in terms of the feedback. So I think kind of all of those things kind of helped us as part of the process.
And what would you say was challenging during the process?
I think, as Amir mentioned, with the Google Docs format that we used, I've not used that before, so we had to kind of teach ourselves. We did have support from IT to get that up and running, so that was really good, and from colleagues as well that had used it before on different projects. But that was certainly a challenge to begin with, and then just trying to get those responses as well, trying to reach as many people as possible and to encourage them to take part. It is a challenge because it was at a time when people are getting a lot of surveys about a lot of things, because so many things that we're used to are changing, and that was how people were using that sort of way of getting data from people. So that was definitely a challenge. And especially when people are worried and anxious and scared, they're juggling work problems and homeschooling and, you know, so many different things. So we extended the closing date of the survey. So originally it was going to run for a couple of weeks, and we extended it to try and sort of increase the number of people that we could reach as much as possible. And then we had to find new ways to promote as well, because so much of our success comes from promoting in person with people. That's a great way of engaging with people. So to have that part taken away was quite difficult. So all of a sudden social media is very important, and you know, other digital ways of getting in touch. So one method we used was a text that went out with a link to the survey, sort of similar to if we were sending an email out, but it's a bit more instant for people that might be able to sort of complete the survey on a mobile device. It was just a quick way of getting out there, and that definitely helped.
And how does it feel now that the surveys had all those responses, regardless of the fact that there was a global pandemic going on?
So it's been great to get the amount of responses that we did. So, you know, a huge thank you to everyone, businesses and parents that took part. It's, yeah, really, that was a really lovely sort of positive response. And it really is going to help. You know, it's helping already with the plans that we're making from October. Actively using that data, you know, it's a really proactive way of doing it. So yeah, thank you to everyone, and especially when they're going through these things that people are going through, like I say, with all the level of anxiety and worry is very high, and yet, you know, people are being really responsive to things like this, which is great. And it feels like it's an achievement because it's something so new and so different to what we'd normally do. And sort of we've learned some new skills in terms of the way we promote and deliver things. We really hope that, so the process of the co-production has increased our reach within the community. That was one of the things we set out to achieve, and that hopefully parents and organisations that hadn't heard of us before now know about work skills, and hopefully be interested in coming along and helping out, being involved in our events later in the year.
And how do you think the work skills programme will benefit from this co-production work that you've just carried out?
I mean, I think there's a few benefits here in terms of us being able to do this, really, to sort of help us. So I think probably the main one is that it's kind of the valuable information that we've got is then helping us to redesign work skills. So we're going through, or we're just completing a sort of major redesign of the programme for the next couple of years, and so kind of with all that information that we've kind of gathered, we're now sort of, you know, planning our October to March delivery plan. You know, there's much more going on, and it's much more, you know, there's much more structured perhaps than it was in the past, and we've got some really interesting changes in there, you know, kind of partly informed by what happened in the co-production questionnaires. So just to give you sort of a few examples, so we're going to be trialling Saturday events, which we've not really kind of run before, so that we've got that in our new programme. We're also going to be having more opportunities for accredited courses. So we already do some accredited courses, but we're going to be having more accredited courses for parents in the future to help them to go on to a good job. And then we're also going to have a personalised pathways for attendees and for parents. So with one-to-one IAG support, and we're going to have a couple of trained staff who are going to be providing IAG support to parents, and there's going to be that personalised pathway that they can have through the process to help them towards volunteering, education or work. And I think also this kind of the collaborative approach that we've sort of had has really helped us to make the changes that we know are going to be beneficial for parents, because the parents have sort of suggested them, and also for the businesses that have supported us as well. So we're kind of able to consider those comments that businesses have made and sort of incorporate those into our future plans, so that we have the best possible plan for the future.
And are you able to offer any top tips to others in terms of planning a co-production exercise?
I would say be prepared to learn new things. So one of the challenges, but also one of the good things about it. And change is obviously scary for a lot of us. But I think one thing that we've all learned is how well people can adapt, you know, during this time. So yeah, that's definitely up there in the top tips. Plan a structure. Obviously, you know, you need to have a set idea, but also allow for some flexibility. Again, the sort of the very nature of co-production is it needs to allow for developing ideas and that sort of collaborative approach. Yeah.
And I think, yeah, I mean, just to sort of come in on that point about the structures, I think that having kind of gone through this exercise a couple of times now, is I think that's kind of, it's critical to sort of have that, because I think we've been very lucky in that we've had loads and loads of comments from parents, but we've had the kind of you know, we've planned the sort of the prompts and the kind of, you know, some detail, you know, for the parents to kind of look at as well, and a bit of sort of structure. And I sort of think that kind of definitely helps to get the kind of parental response. So I sort of think that kind of without that, it's you know, it's kind of trickier unless you've kind of got something sort of meaty that the parents can kind of comment on and sort of and discuss. But obviously you need to have the flexibility in it to be able to kind of let the event you know, let parents say what they want to, and you know, get you know, let contributors say what they want to. I think just a couple of other points there is, I think also it's about being very inclusive and very collaborative. So trying to consult with as many people as possible during the planning, and getting those people involved in it. So whether that be commenting on the questions in the questionnaire, whether that be filling the questionnaire in, whether that be commenting on any visual information or any written information, to make sure that it is right. So we had, you know, we made our infographic, went through so many different tweaks before we kind of really honed it to get exactly what we wanted and what we thought would be most appealing. And I think sort of within that, kind of really thinking about why you're doing it in the first place. So what's the purpose of it, and what specifically do you want to get out of it? So once you know what you want to get out of it, the questions can then be sort of better designs to try to get the you know, what you're looking for, you know, what sort of views you're looking for from the questionnaire. I think another one is promoting. So, like, you know, promotion is critical with regards to trying to get parents and others to fill the questionnaire in. So, you know, it's important to tell everybody what you're doing, tell them why you're doing it, and make sure that, you know, all methods are used, you know, whether that be Twitter, whether that be Insta, whether that be LinkedIn, Facebook, to make sure that parents and partners are aware of what you're doing. And also the kind of the other thing is the infographic. So that, and I've mentioned that a few times, but it needs to be visually appealing, and it needs to be concise. So it's got to be, if you do have an infographic, and we would, you know, say it's a good idea to have that, it needs to be appealing, it needs to be concise, with a kind of nice effective summary of any sort of written materials. But, you know, in our case, we had to have you know, the written materials in order to kind of be able to explain ourselves to parents that sort of hadn't attended before. And I think the other thing is the number of parents kind of completing as well. So we kind of you know, we had a good number of people completing, in total 48, and we were quite careful in our targets. So we consulted with quite a few people. We consulted with a Better Start, and also with the university, our partner university as well, to try to come up with a kind of a sort of a realistic target for the number of people that we could get. So we had a kind of a target band based on taking into account a whole range of factors, like including the number of parents that had attended events in the past, the number of parents that attended each event. And so our band was 25 to 50. So we had a sort of a minima of 25 that we wanted, and the maximum of 50, and we got sort of 48. So we were kind of, you know, that sort of helped us from the point of view of kind of setting the framework and having a kind of an aspirational target to appeal to in terms of the numbers of parents that we wanted to complete. So that you know, that helped us, and consulting with the uni on the target setting was helpful as well.
Perfect, great. Thank you, Amir and Lucie, for your time. It was very informative, and I'm sure others really appreciate all the information you shared with us and your great piece of work.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Oh, guys, you nailed it. So good. Thank you.
Okay.
How are you doing?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. How did you? How was it? How was that? Was that?
Yeah, I made some notes, because what I'm going to do when I play the recording, I think it's your 14th. Tuesday, was it Monday or Tuesday? I can't remember. Anyway, it's Monday or Tuesday, 13th or 14th. So I've just made some notes so that I can kind of top and tail it with an introduction, because we've got a little bit of time that I can just, you know, so participants can perhaps ask some questions or whatever. So you're welcome to come back to that session. But if you never, I know when I've done something, I never want to look at that again. But you might change your mind.
Do
you want to? What I'll do is, the recordings has gone into the cloud on Zoom, and we'll cut off the beginning. Heather's going to do that. I'll find a way of getting her a copy to you, but because they're quite big files, we can use
WeTransfer.
Yeah,
yeah.
So you can at least see it and approve it, and you know, we can just. I mean, Keely's probably a busy lady, but if if there are bits that you really think, oh no, you want to do it again, you know, it's fine. However you want to do it, or even if you said on the day we're going to do it live, we can accommodate that.
Oh.
We've got this one in the can now, and that just takes all the pressure off. So, thank you so much.
That's all right. How's it all going, Jessica?
I was perfectly happy with all of that. So yeah, I mean, I'd be happy for that to go as is.
I particularly liked the way you acted like you wasn't prepared for the questions that I asked. oh, thank you for that question. I was like, oh, they practice.
Yeah, it was really good, and it's going okay. Thank you, Lucie. I'm glad that we've got this one done, because it allows me to kind of practice a few things as well. So the way that it works is people just arrive in the room. There isn't a waiting room. There isn't. So I'll know who's in the room, hopefully from the sign-ups. Anyway, I'm burbling, but no, we're good, and it's Friday, and now you can kick back. Well, in a few hours.
Such a busy Friday.
So thank you so much, and yeah, that's it. You're done. Brilliant.
Oh, lovely.
Okay, lovely.
All right then.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.